Welcome to episode 14 of Talking Prisoner. Today we've got a very special guest with us who was in 140 episodes of Prisoner from 1979 to 1984. She's also appeared in Neighbours, an Australian independent film, Moonlight and Magic. She started out as an extra in Prisoner and then became a central character, and her character had a very traumatic ending. She played Phyllis Hunt. Welcome to Talking Prisoner, Reylene Pearce. And welcome,
Hi,
Ken.
Matt. Hi, Matt. Hi, Ken.
Hello there.
How are you today?
How are you?
Very well, thank you.
Great, great. So are we. Before we start questions about Prisoner, would it be all right if we learned a little bit about your life when you were growing up, and where did you grow up as a child?
I grew up in St Kilda, and I thought that I was lucky because we lived near the Luna Park and the beach. Yeah, I grew up in St Kilda. I had one brother.
Okay, Matt.
What was it like growing up in St Kilda?
Well, it was great because everything was so close, picture theatres and, you know, the beach and Luna Park. And I had cousins that lived in Preston and they just loved coming to stay with us because there was so much to do. Plus, in those days, you'd be out in the street till the lights came on with every other kid in the neighbourhood, and everybody knew who everybody was, and there was certainly no TV, that's dating myself, no phones, anything like that. It was great fun and a great sense of freedom.
Yeah, they were good days.
They were.
And when TV came, I remember I went out into the street where I lived and it was deserted. There wasn't a child in sight. And I thought, what the hell's happened? And I went down the street and all the kids in the neighbourhood were inside the only people that had a television set, and they were watching the Mickey Mouse Club.
Unbelievable.
And it was just, that changed everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember going, I was probably one of those kids inside, Ken, to a girlfriend's place who had a TV, and they were dropping hints left, right and centre. Don't you think it's time you went home? Won't your mother be looking for you? And I thought, oh, no, it's all
right. Great days.
Yep.
Great days. What's a favourite childhood memory that you have?
Well, I've already said, I think it was playing out in the street with very little, not many toys, you know, billy carts and telegraph pole for a cricket wicket.
It's amazing what we used to do with very, very little, and we actually used our imagination.
Yeah, that's a good point. You need imagination to be an actor, don't you?
Yeah, definitely. Getting on to school, your school life, what were you like at school? Favourite subjects and going through school?
I was okay at music, and I loved art and history and hopeless at arithmetic. And I was doing pretty well, I think. And then I started to be naughty, muck up, you know. Wanted to be the clown class clown, I guess. Didn't pay attention after that. I regret it.
Yes, sometimes kids tended to do that just to draw attention to themselves or to get away, get the teacher offside so that they wouldn't have to go on with their mathematics and so forth. I hated mathematics too.
Oh, me. I got 11 out of 100 one year. And then at the next exam, I got 11 out of 100 again. And the teacher said, well, at least you're consistent.
When you left school, what did you do once you left school? What was your first job?
I was working Saturday mornings in Coles for a while, and then I had a job in a hairdressing salon. Really, they just stuck me in a cubicle and I shampooed people's heads. It wasn't with the hairdressing. And I did so many heads one day, the plug hole got clogged and the water came over the sink and all down this woman's dress. So that didn't last long. But I think probably I went to business college and learned to type, and that's what I did, office work. And certainly when I was in prison, going in and out, you know, 50-worder or daily, that's what I went and did, you know, to keep eating.
So that was your job in between acting jobs, was office. And yeah. which I guess is important for that type of work because it's very seasonal, the acting work.
It is. That's, you know, and sometimes I went on holidays, and when they did that, they'd send you into solitary, and I came out with a tan. And I remember once Jane Clifton came out with a perm.
Before we do get on to Prisoner, had you done any acting jobs prior to Prisoner? Anything that you were in before that?
Yeah, I was trying, you know, I did things on the Paul Hogan show, and quite a few things for Channel 2, like Lucinda Brayford and Wild Ass of a Man, and I can't remember the names of them. And
did you just say the Paul Hogan show, did you?
Well, it was a music video with Dragon, actually.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow, Dragon.
No, Hunter, yeah, I was Madam Lash. I had leather on, and I was supposed to whip him, and I licked him up the side of his face. That wasn't in the script. I just wanted to lick his face.
Reylene, I've suddenly had a vision of you in leather.
Oh. No, I wouldn't fit into it now.
No, but Dragon were, I mean, they still are a very big band, and I mean, so many iconic songs, and unfortunately passed away, but
yeah, gorgeous guy, yeah.
Yeah.
Sad.
Back to domesticity for out of leather and into the kitchen. What sort of things do you like to cook?
Well, I'm vegetarian, so I cook vegetarian, but I most often cook Italian and sometimes Middle Eastern.
Okay. How long have you been a vegetarian for?
Probably about 40 years.
Oh, 40 years, wow.
Try vegan every now and then, but I'm not very good, but I'll get there one day, maybe.
All right, now I know the fans will be itching for us to get into Prisoner. So had you watched Prisoner prior to... Well, actually, I need to rephrase this question because there's a lot of fans commenting on the Facebook page that you were in the very first episode of Prisoner. So this question probably doesn't make sense now. Can we clarify that?
Yes, yeah, I was the receptionist when Peter Tapano came in.
Right.
Yeah. And that's how I noticed what a wonderful wardrobe mistress Jennifer Carmen was, because what Peter had on that day, she had on in her when she left. I thought that was fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah, Jenny
Attention to detail.
Yes, she was very good as a wardrobe mistress. We'd like to get her on.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's living in England, but I'm in contact with her, and we're hopeful that she will say yes.
Yeah, she was a very good belly dancer too. Did you ever see her do that, Ken?
No, I didn't, but she did send me a video, not of her, of a lady involved in Rag Sharky, I think it's pronounced, which is belly dancing basically, but there's so much more to it than just being a belly dancer. There's a lot more happening in it, and it's fascinating. It's quite interesting.
Yeah, she was wonderful at it.
So before we get to Ken's question, how did you get the part as a receptionist on Prisoner for the first episode?
I had an agent, and they wanted someone, and I showed up. And I was really typing because I am a typist, and they said, no, it's making too much noise. So then I had to pretend that.
You had to mime type it.
Yeah.
Right. But then when you got into the actual real part that you played of Phyllis, how did you get that particular part?
Well, I think they had a lot of extras come in with a view to lines later on. That's what happened with a few of us that started off as extras. And then I think when they may have been thinking about it, I had to go and meet, was it Graham Arthur? I know they used to call him Grace. Do you remember him?
Yes.
A bit sad, but the day after I saw him, he died. He had a stroke or a heart attack or something.
Yes, he had a problem with his heart. Back in the times of the 60s, he was the head cameraman at Channel 7, and I was a lowly crane driver, cable puller, stagehand. And so he was my boss. So I knew him well, reasonably well. when he came out, and he directed the very first episode.
Ah, well, after that, I tortured myself with the fact that he was probably on the way into the office to say, "Never use this girl," but he didn't get to. I don't know.
No, he was a good guy.
Yeah.
Did you have to audition for Phyllis?
Well, no, I just met him and spoke to him, and the next I knew I had lines.
Oh, wow.
Right.
Which is probably rare back then to not audition, because I mean, everyone I've spoken to so far, most of them have had to audition for the parts. So.
Really? Oh. Well, I'm glad I didn't, because I'm not very good at it. I'm not good at it at all.
In 1979, they had you on 9 episodes, or in 9 episodes. Did you know this would be 9 episodes when you first got the part? Did they say that, you know?
No, they didn't say anything. I always, you know, just showed up, and always, as an actor, or I do, have it in the back of my mind that it could all be axed tomorrow. So you don't really think ahead, just day by day, week by week.
Yes, a bit like a lot of us. We didn't know that this thing was going to go for 8 years. We thought it might be 1 year.
And the first part was as the extra, wasn't it? It wasn't before Phyllis was all written in a lot more. The first 9 episodes was as an extra.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like Lois and Yenta. I can't remember who else, but yeah.
Who was your favourite writer on the show? Did you have a favourite writer?
Well, you know, Denise was hard to beat, and Coral and Alistair. Alistair was a teacher at the drama school I went to, so they were the ones that you met because they came out to the studio, and well, I guess they're going to be your favourites because you met them. But they were on the ball. You know, I did an interview in The Sun, I think, and they were asking me about my character, and I said, "Oh, she's like a weasel." And the next minute, I knew people in the show were calling me the weasel. So they picked up on things.
Just going back a minute, what you just said. You said you went to a drama school, so that was before Prisoner that you.
Yep. 3 years at the National Theatre Drama School. Sorry about that. Yeah, that's where Janet Andrew Arthur went, and Jackie Woodburn. Sorry, Jackie. And a few others, yeah.
You were in Prisoner for 4 years in and out. Did you notice a big change on the show as it became more popular? The production, the sets, cast.
Well, the cast certainly, and they got some fantastic actresses in there, and it was a great privilege to watch them work. But the set, I think the set still shook, didn't it, Ken? Even
that's part of its character.
No, the only changes, were characters coming in and out. But I think, well, the officers changed uniforms, didn't they, to that horrible green?
I think wardrobe also changed for the prisoners as well. They eventually changed what they were wearing somewhere along the line. I'm not quite sure.
Why did they change the officers' uniforms? Was there a reason for that?
I don't know why. Do you know why?
No, I don't.
Did it look better in the lighting?
It's difficult for me to answer that because we shot what we had to shoot, and we weren't thinking. Well, mainly we were making sure that we didn't bump into things and knock people over.
And make the wall shake.
We weren't too worried about what they might have been wearing, but not to cause problems and make mistakes.
Phyllis was a great character, really great character. Do you know who created the character? Who came up with the idea of Phyllis by any chance?
No idea. Probably. No, I don't know.
No, that's okay.
She kind of developed, didn't she? I mean, you started off as an NS, a non-speaker, and then eventually you started to come into the foreground.
Yeah, you get NS and then you get 50 worder. That means you only get paid to say up to 50 words, but it's usually about 10 words.
Oh.
And then if you go over 50 words, you get paid more. And then as a daily, you get more. And then from a daily, I guess you can go to being a regular.
Do you know who it was that decided to give you more of a role on Prisoner and make Phyllis more a regular prisoner?
No, I don't. But the person who put me under contract was Lex Van Os.
Oh, Lex.
Yes.
Right. Yes.
Is he still with us, Lex?
That I don't know, but he directed a number of episodes too.
Now, we ask every guest that comes on Talking Prisoner this question. It's a very standard question, but it's a great question because every answer has been different. Working with Sheila Florence, what was that like?
That was great fun. Very outspoken. I mean, you know, make your hair stand on end, some of the things she said. And I said to Elspeth one day, was she always like this? And Elspeth said, oh no, she's mellowed. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You got a funny story you can share with the fans about her?
She had a bottle, it might have been whiskey in her locker, and someone was stealing it. Wasn't you, Ken, was it?
No, she actually gave me a bottle of whiskey when she left the series.
Yeah. Anyway, because it was missing, she drew a line on it to see how much was missing, and then when she found that, she emptied the bottle and filled it up with urine.
Oh, dear.
So whoever snitched some next time, well, they didn't mention it anyway, did they? They wouldn't.
Oh, dear.
Funny.
You work with many cast members over the 4 years, and sadly some that aren't with us anymore. What memories do you have of people like Betty Bobbitt, Gerda Nicholson and Anne Phelan?
Well, you know, Gerda was just such a lady. She was so gorgeous, you know. She didn't really come in with us, but she's very serene and just wonderful. Anne Phelan, a wonderful actress, and Betty, I adored Annie and I adored Betty. She lives near me. She lived near me. So, we saw a lot of each other after Prisoner. I still have to think, oh, she's there and I can go around for a glass of wine as soon as lockdown's over.
Yeah.
But Betty, well, you would know, Ken, so funny, so warm, great actress, big loss.
She's one of those actresses. She do things sometimes almost like using the dumb blonde routine. There was an audio guy who was nicknamed Slug, and I have Slug. I don't have any idea of why, but one day I said to him, "Come on, Slug, let's get on with it." And Betty, who was sitting nearby, just sort of looked up casually and said, "Oh, all right." So she she just pretended or played that. When I first saw her on a program called Daily at Night, she was playing the dumb brunette back in those days.
Betty Bobbitt from Big Bear.
Yes, that's right. Yes, exactly. Yes, she was a lot of fun.
Oh, she was so much fun. She had a storyline when someone gave her laxatives and she was locked in the cells overnight.
Oh, yeah.
And the cells didn't have toilets in them. I don't know how any prisoner could put up with that. But, the goof tapes at the end of the year, Ken,
yes.
I'd love to know what happened to them, but they did one of her banging on the door, "Let me out, I need to go to the toilet." And she's going, "Let me out, please."
Oh, dear.
I don't know where that is, but I'd like to see it again.
There is one goof tape that's floating around on YouTube apparently, and I actually appear in it at one stage of the game. So yes, that one's floating around, but not the one with Betty.
What a shame.
And you're right regarding Gerda, the word serene really does encapsulate what she was like. She was never overly bothered by anything. She didn't get uptight or, you know, she was completely controlled and just, you know, so calming.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
When we spoke to Chris a few episodes ago, Betty's son, he was talking about her famous dinner parties. Did you ever go to one of them?
Oh, plenty. Plenty. And they always had a theme, you know, you were killing someone or you had to get dressed up or do something like that. And she was very clever in that regard. Maxine and I went to see her in a play and at the MTC, and she was playing an American who was actually a spy. But we sent her a card backstage and said, you know, oh, hi, we're here. So that we know that you know we're here, can you wave or sing a few bars of such and such or do? We asked, and she did them. She came out and she said, did you see them? And Maxine and I went right over our heads because she'd asked one of the actors to come down the stairs humming that song and she, I don't know, I told her we were so absorbed in your acting that we didn't notice. But she loved a challenge like that to, you know, if you said it, she'd do it. Very clever.
Yeah, we learned that about her because she did something to her ankle one morning before a scene at the courthouse, badly hurt it, but she still went on and shot the scene. She didn't want to let anyone down. She soldiered on and shot the scene. Her ankle was in agony. And
she got scratched by a cat. I don't know if it was the studio cat, but she had these scratches down her arms and Sheila said, you know, when you get the red line, it means you're caught something or gets infected or something. I think she went on even with that and went to the doctors later.
Oh, wow. Getting back to, so when you were an extra on Prisoner, were you hoping for a more regular storyline on the show at that time?
Oh, goodness. Yeah, I suppose I thought I'd like to do that, yeah.
Yep.
Okay, episode 395, which first aired on the 8th of September, 1983, was written by Wendy Jackson and directed by Chris Adshead, Addy, with cameramen Wayne Lavender, Simon, known as Sid Vicious, Simon James, and me. This is an episode where we see Phyllis take a lead role. You're working with B, which really established your character. You have it in for Sonia Stevens, played by Tina Bursell. You tear her cell up and put razor blades in her soap. But then you're in the shower and the razor blades magically are in the soap you're using. What was that scene like to shoot, and what was it like to take more of a lead?
Well, it was lovely to take a lead. It was great to do more, but can you know about shower scenes? Everybody hated them because you had to wear this skin-coloured outfit and it got wet and looked worse than any naked body could possibly look. So you're kind of concentrating on making it look real, but they had hoses from everywhere, didn't they, and crew everywhere. It wasn't much fun, really, was it?
No, it would have been terrible for the actresses to although there is a goof tape with a whole lot of camera crew and staging crew all ripping their shirts off and storming into the showers.
Yeah, so yeah, it was good. It's, you know, good to get a dramatic thing to do.
Did you get warm water coming out of the showers?
Sometimes.
Oh, sometimes. It was cold water as well.
Hey?
It was cold water coming out of there.
There were pipes, you know, the studio was huge, so the pipes coming up to the showers, they had to go to the bathrooms, and that must have been somebody there, you know, trying to get it right.
They took it from the men's toilets and laid a hose through the men's toilets down past the manager's offices and into the studio. And so, you know, hot and cold would have been, you know, a very tricky situation.
So I guess I would say I was probably trying to do it as well as I could the first time to get it over and done with.
Yes. Yes.
Well, it really established a character working with B. I mean, it really sort of put Phyllis on the map there, I think, with that scene.
Yeah, I started off a goodie, really, didn't I? And I just went bad.
Yeah. Now we know every actor has a different technique for this, but what was your technique, or to learn lines, to remember scripts?
I didn't like doing it. I sit down and I think I've got to concentrate, and then I think, no, I can't do it until I clean the toilet. You know, then I'll be free. So or I've got to vacuum it, and then eventually you have to sit down and try and focus. But I used to put them on tape and answer myself and do that. But, you know, after a while on that show, you kind of know what you're going to say. You know, get stuff and piss off. You don't really have to, it sort of comes naturally.
Interesting.
Yes, it's kind of inbuilt in some of the characters that you could answer a question with that kind of line and get away with it, even if it wasn't in the script.
Did you ever mess your lines up at any time? Any scenes on Prisoner that you remember?
No, never. No, of course. Everybody does. Yeah. Annie used to call herself Flannel Mouth. Flannel Mouth strikes again. No, everybody does.
Yeah.
I had a line once where I had to say, "You should have hit her harder, Hannah," and my character didn't say her H's.
No.
You know.
You had some great scenes with Maggie Kirkpatrick, who played Joan Ferguson. What can you tell us about Maggie and Val Lehman?
Yeah, well, both very good actresses coming to really good parts and running with them. Fabulous roles, and they did them exceptionally well. I can remember my first scene with Maggie. I think she had me pressed up against some shelves in a storeroom.
Yeah.
And, you know, the hair on my neck kind of stood up because she had the gloves and she was being menacing, and you didn't really have to act that hard. It was scary.
Yes. When you had people like Val and Maggie tending to monster you, I can well imagine that you would be a bit, you know, scared.
Yeah, in the moment, yeah. I mean, you know, acting and conscious and everything, but my God. And that's because of how good they were. Yeah. They make you good and scared.
The food in the dining room, did you ever try any? And what was it like?
Well, you were set up for the dining room, so you would do maybe 3 meals at a time. You'd do breakfast, lunch and dinner because the dining room was set up.
Yep.
So breakfast wasn't too bad. It had come all the way from the canteen, and toast was okay. It was a bit cold. But if it was chops or something like that, and people had to look like they were eating it, and then there'd be a boom shadow or someone would forget the line, it would all go back on the trays, and then it would be dished out again. So you didn't know who had it in their gob. And, you know, or they'd be saying, "Don't eat the food, don't eat the food." We didn't want to, especially stews and things, but it's ruined a lot of films for me, because now when you watch actors in movies and they're supposed to be, and they stir it around on the thing, and you think, oh yeah, they must have a line coming. They don't want to have a mouthful of food, and a lot of them just don't eat it, and it takes me away from the film, and it annoys me.
It was the finest.
And it will ruin it for you from now on too.
Now I'm going to watch what they eat. So the dining room was used as the rec room on Prison, wasn't it? Is that right, Kim? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, it was redressed.
Redone.
Yeah. The basic flats and everything were the same, but one had a door at either end and one only had a door at one end, but, you know, it's just a redress of the set.
Yeah, that's a funny story about food.
Well, yeah, and the finest canteen cuisine from the panorama room.
Mrs. O'Regan's food. That's a...
Of course, a lot happened to it on the way from the panorama room over to Studio B. I mean, it's a fair trek. So therefore, yeah. Tell us about working with Judy McBurney.
Oh, Judy was such a sweet girl. She taught me a lot. We became friends. I went up and stayed with her in her lovely little house in Birch Grove. She was very smart, you know. She said she was might have been the Young Doctors, and they're all getting fabulous money and buying houses and cars and everything. And she bought this little terrace in Birch Grove, and you know, why don't you get something bigger and bigger? I think she must have been the one that said to me, you know, it could always end tomorrow, and you don't want to lose your home. So, you know, you don't get frivolous with it. You've got to use it while you're getting it, because none of these shows last. There's lots of actors who earn a lot of money, but they end up with nothing.
Yeah.
But there's not a lot of work too. That contributes.
Yeah. Was she similar to her character? Was she similar to her character in the way she was? Or?
Yes, but I think shrewd with it. I mean, she was gorgeous looking and voice and everything, but I think, you know, she had a good career. She toured in a play with Terry Thomas, and I think she was pretty shrewd. She wasn't a fool. She wasn't dumb, and she wasn't naive. She's a very nice, lovely woman.
Yeah, definitely. Episode 411, written by Coral Druin and directed by Kendall Flanagan, which first aired on the 25th of October 1983. The cameramen were Wayne Lavender, Barry Pullen, and Ken Mulholland. Another great scene where we really establishes Phyllis again, where you and Lizzie and the other prisoners hit Ferguson over the head, put a hood over her, and carry her down the corridor into the showers. Now, this is another episode that a lot of fans talk about, because you're the one that's up on the holding the sheet saying, "Die, bitch, die." Do you remember much about that scene, filming that one?
Not really. I think probably when I pulled the rope, I don't think Maggie was at the end of it. It was probably a bag stand or something. No, I don't remember much about it. I remember the scene before that where I was rallying them to come, you know, we've got to do something. And because it was a bit to say, and I had to, you know, get everybody on side, I had sort of learned it, but I hadn't learned it because it wasn't going to be filmed to the afternoon. And I thought I'll learn it over that. And of course, as you know, Ken, they bring things forward. And I thought, oh my God. So sort of lounging around in the green room, and all of a sudden your energy, right, I've got to do this. So I went out and you know, I think, well, Kendall said, you know, it was very intense, but I think it was trying to remember what I was supposed to say. Then, yeah, so it worked in my favour as it happened.
Yes, there were plenty of times when things would change very quickly because so-and-so hasn't gotten back from location, so we'll have to do this, you know, and various different things would happen. There were times when, I can remember one time when I think it was Elspeth and Fiona had a two-hander together, and they just looked at each other and broke into laughter. And they tried to do the scene, and we kept on trying to do this scene, and it got worse and worse and worse. And in the end, we said, no, we'll move on. So those sort of things can happen too.
It does. At the end of a long day, you can't stop laughing. And sometimes I think there might have been, in a break between that and the last scene, we might have ordered some booze from the bottle shop a bit too soon, and probably much before we went back and did the last scene. Those were bad.
the cardboard handbags.
Yes. And I don't know else would do a scene and it would go in the bin and was erased from her memory because she'd done it, you know, that, and then when they did that to her, she had to do it again. You can't store all that, you've got to get rid of it. Yes. Useless information, really, isn't it?
Well, did you find some of those scenes? Oh, sorry, Ken.
Yeah, no, go.
Those scenes like I just mentioned with, you know, putting the sheet around Joan Ferguson and some of the physical scenes. Did you find them hard to shoot sometimes? Were they like quite intense to shoot some of those scenes?
No, because nobody gets hurt.
Yep.
It's choreographed. And there's so much going through. Like, you can't just walk down the corridor and grab somebody by the throat. You've got to walk down the corridor. You've got to stop on your mark. Ken might have been shooting through a doorway of a cell while you're in the corridor. So you've got to do it side on. You can't grab someone and go like that. You've got to be side on and hit them and throw them down for the cameraman. So and you're thinking of a lot of things as well as acting the part. So I wasn't thinking, oh my God, this is so violent.
Yeah.
Because I had a number of other things on my mind at the same time as acting. You know, when Babs hit me over the head in the dining room, so you've got to think to move your head so you don't get hit. And then I had to roll across the dining room and then pick up a blood-soaked sponge from behind the leg of the table and put it to your nose and then drop it and then, you know, stand up. So it probably looked violent, but there was other stuff going on. And I remember in riots where they got bottles and put material in them and lit them, and we had to run out of that roller door thing, and everyone was going, well, we might get burnt. And of course, when you did it, we were running so fast and screaming, it looked pretty scary. But before that, they were all being wusses.
Yes. There's a lot to the fear thing too, that, you know, you can't get this wrong. You've got to get it right.
Yes.
We felt that too.
Yeah. If you get it, you know, nobody wants to be doing that again and again and again.
Okay. Episode 434 was written by Betty Quinn and Ray Cole, directed by Steve Mann, another one of the crew that made good as directors. The cameramen were Wayne Lavender, Jeff McGilla, Biggs, and me.
Did he pass away recently?
Yes, unfortunately, Jeff did pass away just not so long back.
Oh,
yes.
Awesome. Yeah.
Well, he was probably about 65, 60, mid-60s, I would have thought. And a lovely guy, you know.
A gentle giant.
Yeah. And very funny at times. He could be quite crazy.
Sorry.
No, that's fine. This episode was in the Glee Club. It was the Glee Club trip, shot up in beautiful Sassafras in Melbourne. You're in the bus with Judy, Bobby, Reb, Cass, Minnie, and Joyce, Barry, and Meg. The bus stops and Rebs is trying to escape, and we see the tough side of Phyllis here, again taking a leading role. You're telling Reb not to make a move without you, and you and Reb then drug the screws on the way back to Wentworth, and Reb gets in the car, and you're holding a gun at the car. What were your memories of that?
It was cold.
Beautiful, cold Sassafras.
Yeah.
I don't know if there was there someone in the car with Janet?
Apparently there was a child, was there not?
Oh, no.
No, I think it was one of Nakamura's sons was in the car. Or it might have been a stunt man. But anyway, they took off so fast. I remember when they came back, Janet was white because he just drove so fast and they took off with him. That's my main memory of that. But waving the gun around, well, I've never had a gun in my hand in my life before, so I guess it was good fun.
Did it have actual blanks in it?
I don't know.
Did you have to fire it?
No, I don't think I did.
Oh, it probably didn't have anything in it.
Yeah. So we're just talking about a location episode, which we just discussed. And then there was Ken's question about the child that you took hostage.
Oh, what was the question?
You're holding a gun at the car. Is that what?
Oh, the child. You took the child hostage, and you're holding a gun at the child.
Yes.
Yeah. How did you feel about that?
It didn't bother me.
Yeah.
Well, you've got to do what's in the storyline.
What about the particular child? Was they were fine with that? The fact that you were holding a gun on them?
Yeah, well, yes. I was very nice to her in between takes. And of course, Betty was lovely with it. She was great with kids. So no, she wasn't traumatised. I hope not.
There was a scene in episode 435, which was the next one, in the house. There was an abandoned house, and Judy and Cass were in there, and you've still got the child hostage, and they're trying to get the child from you, and it was all happening. And then we find out a backstory to Phyllis. You had a 7-year-old daughter that we just came out of nowhere, and to let her go. Was that on location, that house, or was that at the studio?
I think it was at the studio.
A studio.
I'm pretty sure it was. The interiors, yes. Interiors, at the studio.
Yeah. There were some fantastic scenes with Betty Bobbitt in these episodes. We know you've talked about Betty already, but can you add anything to that with her?
Working with her?
Well, very easy to get on with, very loving, caring, kind, wonderful person. When I used to go around there, especially if her partner was away, because Betty wasn't that mobile towards the end, and I would walk the dogs for her, and then she made me have a glass of wine with her. And I remember lots of Christmas Eves at her place, and I remember sitting in her garden with her playing the piano. Did you ever hear her play, Ken?
No, I didn't.
She was, and had beautiful hands, made for piano playing. Great cook. For her 80th birthday, for my 70th, someone gave me 7 presents, one for every decade. So I did that for Betty's 80th. I gave her 8 presents and took them around. She was like a kid. Opening them, and she said, "Oh, it's the best birthday I ever had." But she was like anything that you took around there. If her birthday was in July, she'd open it then and there. And me used to say, "Can't leave Christmas presents under the tree." She'd rip into them. I actually did a film with Betty, and it probably was her last film, for some students, and we filmed it at the convent in Abbotsford. About 2 old dears in a nursing home. And that was great.
Did that ever was it released, that movie? Or?
I have to find out, because I think it's ready, and then they said they had to put the music in and a bit of something else. I don't know what happened to it. I think they might have going to enter it in the MUF, the Melbourne Underground. Or is that the rude one, the MUF? I'm not sure. Anyway, something like that. So, I don't know where that is. Might be a while before I can watch it though.
Yeah.
What was the name of the film?
I could probably get back to you about it and find out where it is, but one of the students wrote it, And then they got a grant to pay us. We got paid. I'm not sure they even had a name at that stage.
Okay. Okay.
And it's only 15 minutes or 20 minutes or something.
Oh, hopefully they release it. It'd be great to see.
Hmm.
Yeah. Now, this episode is in particular scene I'm going to ask you about, which I hope you can remember because a lot of the fans talk about it, is episode 443, written by Betty Quinn and Andrew Kennedy, directed by Kendall Flanagan, which first aired on the 19th of April, 1984.
The scene where I poured hot water over Gloria?
Yeah, played by Toddy Goldsmith. You dropped the potatoes and it looked like a quite traumatic scene with the boiling water. Do you remember much about filming that?
Fans love that scene, don't they?
Yeah.
Well, again, it's choreographed. There's not really hot water in the thing. I find it amusing because Myra grabs me by the throat. Again, you don't need to act because you stupid kid. And Maggie comes in and says, yeah, that's it, Myra, you're going to go with it. And Totty's on the floor with her back burnt to shreds and nobody paid the slightest bit for tea. I mean, eventually, it was all up here. I mean, they poured it on and she did a great job and she arched her back. And then it came up to Maggie and Annie and I think it ended there.
Yeah. That was a great, the fans love Phyllis still for doing that scene.
Yeah. I've met some fans that kind of didn't want to talk to me. They were a bit scared of me, which is silly because you're not the character, but anyway. And people, my family who look at things on YouTube and stuff saying, I'm glad she got hit over the head and she was a psychopath. And one said, what happened to Phyllis? She used to be fairly nice looking and now she looks like a dump truck.
Going back on that about the fans and things, like when you did those scenes back then, did you ever cop anything from the public when you were out in public? You shouldn't have done that to her or you should have done this?
No. I did a silly thing one day. One of them, might have been one of the ex or something, had to pick up some dry cleaning at Forest Hills and they said, do you want to come for a drive? And nice to get out of the studio because there's no windows. And she said, we won't get changed because it takes too much time. And my God, we nearly caused a riot. And I had no idea that it was like that. And it was a very stupid thing to do. And I never did it again.
Oh, you had uniform on outside.
Yes, idiots.
You wouldn't have been the only one because I do remember Forest Hills seeing Elspeth and could have been Fiona, I can't remember, but they were still in their uniforms too.
Oh, wow.
Well, Elspeth tells a funny story that she had to get something weird from a Chinese herbalist for her son was doing something, and she went, I don't know if she had a uniform on or not, and she said to the woman what this thing was, and the woman was Asian. She said, I don't understand. And I don't think Elspeth could understand the woman and the woman couldn't understand us. So the woman got a pen and paper and gave it to Elspeth, meaning write down what you want. And Elspeth thought she wanted an order book. and the woman, Elspeth Valentine, what's this? What's this?
Oh dear.
So going back to the dry cleaners, did you have a lot of people surrounding you, a lot of attention?
Oh, yes, and pointing and staring. Do you remember, Ken, when Carol Burns and Colette escaped, and at the time, Colette had Carol staying with her because her husband was away, and people across the road, it was when they had escaped from Perth, rang the police.
Oh, wow.
And the police came to the door and Colette answered, and what's going on? And they went, the people across the road went up and said the escaped convicts are here.
Oh.
Oh dear.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yes, but it is possible. I've people sometimes find it very difficult to separate reality from fiction.
Yeah. And Judith McGrath's story when she was in a supermarket and one woman said, "That looks like that bitch from Prisoner." And she said, "I am that bitch."
Oh, Po-Face.
Yes. Wonderful actress.
Yeah,
now
too soon as well. Sorry, Ken.
We now come to the fate and your finale. This was episode 460, and it was written by Coral Druin and Ian Smith, directed by Kendall Flanagan. The cameramen were Wayne Lavender, Peter Hind, and Ken Mulholland. Do you remember anything about shooting the fate scenes? There was lots going on, Reb smuggling drugs and Myra escaping and Bobby losing her baby. In amongst all that, what are your memories?
I remember Maxine, holding her son. She called him fetus garrulitis. Yeah, there was a lot going on with the stalls and everything. Is that when Myra escaped?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was always nice being outside doing OBs, getting some fresh air. Although, again, if the sun changed, you could end up waiting around till the sky looked the same as the previous scene and all of that. But yeah, there was a lot going on. They were good episodes, weren't they?
Yeah. They were different.
Yeah.
So the final scene, which is in the shower block, Reb, played by Janet Andrew Arthur, is holding a wooden statue of a horse. Reb asks you if you know the difference between an asset and a liability. She calls you a liability. Then she hits you over the head with it. You're lying there in blood. Reb looks a little bit worried that she's killed you. Ferguson tells Anne Reynolds that your skull's been bashed in. So we don't actually know if you've died, but we can, assume that you have. What was it like filming the last episode? Did you know that was going to be your last episode?
Oh, yeah, of course, yeah, it was over. Well, I didn't die. I became a vegetable, yeah.
Kind of vegetable.
What?
What kind of vegetable?
Well, when I left, I gave everybody pens in the shape of vegetables, carrots and...
Oh,
I'd rather fancy you as a carrot.
Oh, thank you. I think I'm leaning more towards a pumpkin. Again, Janet was more upset than I was. That's for sure. She's, a lovely, sensitive girl. And she felt bad about my demise, I guess. But when I saw it, all I could see, was big bum acting.
But no one wants to see a cast member leave the show.
No.
That's a normal, natural sort of thing, because we were so much a group, and every time one person left the show, it was always kind of a downer. It was sad, because you'd worked with them so long and over such a long time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, always. But, they gave me a beautiful bracelet and a penguin award, which was a concrete penguin. People get killed or hit over the head or whatever.
So
how did you feel about leaving the series?
Look, I would have stayed forever because I was having so much fun. It was just fun for me. But I understand that the character had done a lot of damage and there are consequences, and the public probably like to see people suffer the consequences for their bad behaviour.
Yeah.
You had some great scenes with Janet Andrew Arthur, who played Red King. What do you remember about Janet?
Well, I'm still in touch with Janet.
How is she?
She's good. She's good. Because we went to the same drama school and we also had the same mentor, which is Joan Harris, who ran the drama school. But yeah, well, of course, I haven't seen Janet or anyone because of lockdown. But she's very well. She's up in the hills in a lovely home.
Fantastic.
I think she might have retired. I don't think she's done anything for a while or wants to. Her birthday the other day, actually the same day as Patsy King. Patsy King was 92.
92, yeah. Happy birthday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. So just going back to when you were talking about filming your final episode, so how did you leave Prisoner? Was it just that the character ran out of steam? There was no more storylines for Phyllis? That was sort of it?
Yeah, somebody wrote me out.
When you left, did you continue to watch Prisoner?
Maybe off and on, but I've done a lot of travelling, so I was probably off somewhere and didn't see it a lot. Although I think I vaguely remember being somewhere in Asia and seeing it, and it was dubbed, and it was hysterical.
It was dubbed. Did you ever watch the finale of Prisoner? Did you see the last episode?
You know, who did you interview that was in? Anyway, you were talking about it on one of these interviews.
Cheryl Monks, yeah, he played Brum.
I'll go back and have a look at it. So yeah, I did watch it. I was very glad that Maggie got her comeuppance.
Yes, it was quite a good ending.
Oh, and so lovely to have all those extras like Hazel, who's no longer with us, and everybody get their head in.
Yeah, it was great. What did you do after Prisoner, once you're out of Prisoner?
I can't get probably what I said I did before Prisoner. I don't know before and after. So maybe that was when I did the ABC things, and I honestly can't remember. But I can't even remember a couple of cop shows I was in. I know one of the directors from Prisoner put me into it, but I can't remember.
Yeah. Well, you did appear in Neighbours, though.
I did, yes. And as I say, those things for Channel 2, and they kept bringing me back for auditions, and I thought, oh, they never give me anything, they hate me. But the casting lady said, no, that means we like you and we're trying to find something to fit you in with. So that was good.
Actually, I wanted to ask you, just a while back we discussed auditions and you said you didn't like them. I did want to ask you, what don't you like about auditions?
Well, it's uncomfortable, and you've got to put it all in there, and usually you're not acting with anybody, which would be a big help to me to interact. You're sort of just looking at this camera like I'm looking at this camera now. That's what I don't like. And now you don't even get to do auditions. I've got friends still in the business. Now you have to tape your audition, because I've helped a couple of friends with direction and playing opposite them, and you send it in. And I think, actors have to maybe buy the lighting and do that and learn the script, and you're not getting paid for all of that.
Yeah, it's all changed, hasn't it?
Okay. Going back to Neighbours again, what part did you play, and did you like the setup of Neighbours? I mean, you were probably dealing with the same internal crew.
Yeah, okay. I mean, it wasn't major things. It was just, in for a couple of days and things. But it was nice to be back in the studio.
In the same studio as President.
Yes.
Yeah. I did a number of episodes of Neighbours, but the last time I went back there, I was working freelance, and they changed the cameras, so that the old cameras that we used to rattle around with were suddenly these tiny little cameras with little eye holes, and if you wear glasses like I do, it's not that easy to use them. So I think it was about 95, 96 that I said, I think maybe this is a younger person's career, and I bowed out. I like Neighbours.
Yeah, it's all very different now, isn't it?
Mm.
Apparently so, yes.
Apparently, like we would do a scene and you'd be on me, and then they'd do it again and you'd be on, say, Janet, and then they do it again and it would be both of us. But I believe they've got cameras now that can do all of that. Can they?
I don't know. It's been 25 years, only a quarter of a century since I was last in the studio, so I don't know now. Okay, now we get to some fan questions. So the first one is from Janice Robertson, and she wondered, how did you feel when you found out Phyllis was going to be brutally bashed by Reb, which left her with brain damage? Did that, the end of your character in the series, did that, when you saw that script, did that shock you?
No.
You knew that was coming.
You knew it was coming, and I just thought about how I was going to fall over and not hurt myself and all that, but I didn't.
How soon do you find out that you're being written out on an episode of Prisoner? Do you find out like they give you notice, or it's sort of last minute that you're out? That's it.
Well, they don't renew the contract.
No.
There's
a second part to this question. Can you tell us any secrets about any other cast members? This is from Janice.
Yes, Janice, I can. I have some very dark, deep secrets that I could tell you, and I will tell you, but then I'd have to kill you.
Okay, Matt.
No secrets. Michael Clulo, who's a big fan of Prisoner and what we're doing, he said he's probably sick of us writing this, but Reylene's another great guest to have on. Reylene would have seen a lot of changes during her long stint. Cannot wait to hear from her. Oh, sorry, that wasn't a question. That was just a comment. Sorry, Ken.
This is from Paddy Barrett. Phyllis and the Freak had a great chemistry on screen and could be quite funny at times. Can you tell us about working with Maggie and the relationship between the two characters? Well, yes, go ahead.
Well, I suppose I was terrified of it, but I guess I bounced back a bit and said, what's in it for me, and all that sort of stuff. But, it's easy working with Maggie, and it's easy to act scared with her, and I enjoyed it. And we had a lot of fun.
Well, yeah, and they say you could be quite funny at times. I guess your back answers or whatever, must have contributed to that, because you weren't actually cracking one-liners, were you?
Well, you have to say what's written, Ken.
Yes.
Kel Kerwood said, do you think that Phyllis Hunt deserved a better exit than she did?
Well, the fans ask that a lot on all your interviews, don't they? But again, you don't really have much control over what's going to happen. How could it be better that you hijack a plane and fly? I don't know. You're in a cell. You can
a helicopter.
You have your head stuck down the toilet or hit over the head with a thing or hung or whatever. But, they would have been hard pushed to find ways to kill people after a while, I guess, wouldn't they?
Yeah. No, personally, I thought the exit was great. I thought it was a great storyline, great exit.
Yeah. Martin James B, or maybe Martin James is talking about B, I'm not sure. Who were the most fun to work with? Any outstanding fun memory from your time on the show? And do you have an input re the development of your character? Have you seen the new Wentworth? Is another question. This is multiple questions.
Did you a few questions?
Well, we know that you didn't use choose to leave the show, but the fun aspects of it. And have you actually seen Wentworth?
No, because I don't have Foxtel. It's on Foxtel, isn't it?
Yes.
Yes, yes.
And so I haven't seen it. Every day was fun out there, you know. Baddest McMillan, Funny Woman, Anfield and Betty. They're all fun. And sometimes it was, you know, we'd be sitting in the green room, probably a bit bored. I remember Judith McBurney was knitting a jumper, and every time she had a scene, she'd give it to someone. So about 30 different people knitted this jumper, and one knitted than the other, and I think it was a bit lopsided. And I had it, I might still have it here somewhere. Maybe I could sell it on eBay.
Yeah, definitely.
Multiple tensions.
Yes. Yeah, so I have fond memories of everybody, really. I'll think of more when this is over.
Well, Sheila could sometimes be very funny without even trying.
Yes, very funny. Very funny. I think the fun is, Babs was very funny too.
Yeah.
And, you know, we broke up a lot, as you know. I remember that a guy came in who was going to remove our tattoos. And we did the rehearsal and saying, you know, what you have to do. And then in the take, they brought in a white jacket that he had to put on. But it was so starched, and it's a take, and as he's going like this, and he's trying to put his down the sleeve, and he couldn't get it in. I just went hysterical. I had to go outside and be walked around because it's at the end of a long day. And yeah, mine's just, I could not stop laughing. I just stood in the background in the end. I think my shoulders were shaking. Poor guy, I apologised to him because he was just out there for the day, and I was laughing at everything he did, but just diving. And now girls, you have to do hysterical.
That was a funny scene, actually, because you're lining up to get the tattoo off, and Lizzie goes, I didn't know you had any tattoos, Phyllis. And you're like, not anywhere you'll see, Liz. It was hilarious. Next one's not a question, it's a comment from Steve Bellamy. He said he had a crush on Phyllis. Glad Reylene wasn't too hurt by Reb Keen's horse statue.
Well, there you go. There's another adoring fan.
Thank you.
Nick Barrington says, that's great, guys. My question to Reylene is, were you happy with the way your character developed during the end, being nasty and a pain and earning the nickname Weasel? Personally, I didn't like it. I wondered how a character could change so suddenly.
Again, not up to me, you know. They needed baddies and I was there. Because, you know, Lois was a baddie and then she became very good with Rita, didn't she? Lois.
Yes, she did.
I've forgotten the question.
Well, it's prison that does this.
That's right. That's right, Ken, yes. She became a victim of incarceration. And again, I didn't have any say in it, so you just have to work out in your mind what's happened to you that's made you go like that. And she was very much out for herself and what's in it for me.
Yes.
It was always about that for Phyllis, wasn't it? It was always what's in it for Phyllis. Yeah. A few other fans actually asked the same question as Nick as well. Zatani Banner as well also asked the same question.
Yes, Steve G says, and what are your memories of filming the Sandy Edwards riot? It looked like great fun.
Great episodes.
Was that the one where we came out with the bubbles of petrol?
Yeah.
Out of the roll? Well,
yes.
Yeah, well, we were scared. Getting burned, but as I say, on the day, it looked good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The next question was from James Gibson, but we've already really covered all that about what you thought of your storyline and everything like that. So we'll head on to the next one, Ken, from Paddy.
Paddy Barrett says, Betty Bobbitt mentioned in her book about giving you her ticket to the Logie Awards. Can you talk further about that, and also some of the practical jokes you would pull on some of the cast, especially Sheila Florence? Sheila Florence and the condom story. This one I don't know.
Yes, I put, Maxine and I both put a condom in Sheila's bag, and she went to get something out of her bag on a flight from Sydney, and it dumped, and she said whoever she was with, they laughed so hysterically that, you know, they nearly put us off the plane in midair. I also did it to Betty, and hers popped out when she went to get a library card out of her purse onto the counter in front of the librarian.
Whoops.
And another time, Betty had this new dog that apparently was pooping everywhere. And again, Maxine and I got a fake dog too and put it in her bag. And she was sitting there, oh, this dog, you know, pooping everywhere, and I've got to pick it up and do it. Maxine and I were nearly in hysterics, thinking, when is she going to look in her bag and look in her bag? And then she went, so all that sort of stuff, just to, you know, because sitting in the green room can get a bit boring.
Yeah.
The thing about Betty giving you a ticket for the Logies?
Yes. So, you know, Betty'd been a million times and I'd never been, so very sweetly she said, you can have my ticket. So
wow.
Off I went. We went to probably Doug, the makeup guy.
Yes.
To his place, and he did, I think it was Maxine and I. Anyway, then a limo pulls up at their place to take us to the Logies. And we said to Dad, oh, come with us, you know, and you pull up and there's all these people there. I mean, I just didn't really expect it, with a red carpet going up, you know, and I kind of took a step back. I was a bit gobsmacked, but Maxine got out and, you know, she's full of beans. And I very quietly, you know, walked up. I probably thought, she's just like a character. Threw me a bit. And Douglas, I looked back at Douglas in the car and he was wide-eyed. My God, you know. Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. And then I left the invitation at Betty's place, and my partner Dennis had to get dressed up. He went home, put on the bow tie, and came in and said he was Mrs. Betty Bobbitt, Mr. Betty Bobbitt. Mr. Betty. He was back at Betty's place watching it.
Sorry, just going back to James Gibson just for a minute with his question. I did, miss something out. He said, would you have liked to have explored any other stories within Phyllis's character? Or did you cover everything, you think?
Oh, well, yeah, of course. If something came up, I'd like to have done it. I quite liked when that guy hypnotised me into being nice.
Oh, yeah.
Because that gave me a break from being horrible and I could be nice. That was Brian Marshall, who was in one of my all-time favourite movies called The Long Good Friday. Have you seen that, either of you?
I don't think I have.
May have, but he was an actor of some renown.
Yes. And the very last scene of that film, it was Bob Hoskins, and he's captured, and oh my God, acting, no words, but oh, they've caught me. How do I get out of this? I can't get out of this. I'm stuffed just in this scene. Absolutely wonderful acting. He's no longer with us either. And they did, Guy Ritchie has done a film, and they do an homage to that when Matthew McConaughey's in the back of a car and the same thing's happening to him.
Oh, wow. I have to check that
out. I digress.
Sarah Cade wanted to talk about your exit, how long it took to film, and did Phyllis take the murder weapon home as a souvenir of your time on the show?
No, I should have, shouldn't I? I think it was balsa wood. I don't think it would have lasted very long. Don't know how long it took.
Well, of course, it wasn't actually a murder weapon as such, because there wasn't murder. You just became a carrot.
Pumpkin.
Oh, sorry, pumpkin.
Pumpkin.
Yeah, I don't remember how long it took to film it. Is that was the question? How long it took?
Yeah. I frankly can't remember that either. It just took as long as the scene takes.
Yeah, exactly.
Of course, we rehearsed them a few times beforehand, and then depending on whether I made a mistake or you guys made a mistake or whatever, we would generally capture it in one take, unless, you know, something went awry. So because we'd done rehearsals, but of course there were certain parts of it that, like you falling down, which you probably would have walked through at a slower pace, and then on the take you would have crashed as you were meant to.
Down in the dummy.
Bonnie Davis Kiakio. Now,
we'll get this right one day, Ken.
Yes, she's going to send us a message somewhere along the line telling us exactly how to pronounce her surname. But she asks, what was the biggest challenge to doing the physical nature of the fight scenes?
I think I've probably covered that, but that's having all those levels of hitting your mark and, you know, being aware of not hurting the other person and where the camera is and blah, 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 which reminds me. You remember?
Did you actually ever connect with anybody, or did anybody actually ever connect with you, you know?
No. But, you know, when you've got to hit your spot, and sometimes people have a mask in take. Do you remember Agnieszka? They said, this is your spot, and she used to spit.
Yes. Yes, I do. Yes. We'll Bob Villinger would say, oh, we'll mark that spot, and she'd say, don't bother. Yes.
We were all flabbergasted. And Betty said, is that what they do in Poland?
Yes, she was
a very well-known actress in Poland, very.
Yes, and yes, there was no tape in Poland by the sound of it.
Obviously, yeah. She probably took a whole lot back with her when she went back.
Zatoni Banner asked, if you were asked to come back as another character, would you have in the later series of Prisoner?
I sometimes thought I wouldn't have minded coming back as Phyllis as a vegetable. I wouldn't have had to learn lines, and maybe in a wheelchair, and I wouldn't have to walk anywhere. I'd be wheeled. I thought that might be fun. That's lazy, isn't it? Lazy, lazy, lazy. I am lazy. I pretend I'm not by going to the gym and walking everything, but really I'm lazy. Yes, so if she came back, she'd have to have come back as a vegetable.
Yeah.
But you could have played another part.
Do you reckon?
Well, Prisoner was known for that. It was you could come back as anyone.
Yeah, but not if you've been in it that long. I don't think anyone came back, did they?
No, I don't think that long. No. It was always a shorter time.
Yeah.
But yes, Elizabeth Valentine's child came back over and over and over. He was multiple personality.
And Bee's husband was in truck drivers and all sorts of things.
Yes.
And the fans pick up on all of that, don't they?
Yeah, they always talk about it.
Yeah.
Tony Lopez asks, in the scene with Hazel Kent, when she was dying and she came to visit you the last time, why did you freak out? Why did
that was
Phyllis...
awful. Poor Hazel. I came out and saw her and went, wandering off and wouldn't speak because I knew she was dying. Well,
Yeah.
I think Phyllis had a problem with sickness, because remember I carried on like a pork chop when Lassa fever was going through.
That's right. Yeah.
Oh, God, you know. So that's what I think with Hazel, who had been my cellmate for a while. I just thought I might catch tumours or something. I don't know. Horrible, wasn't it?
Going back to that fever storyline, I mean, Coral Druin wrote that. She must have predicted COVID-19, I think, because it was very similar.
Lassa fever, which was a real thing.
Yeah.
Lassa fever.
Paula Conati, I hope I pronounced that right. Paula, she just wanted to say can't wait for this interview. A lot of other fans said the same thing.
Yes, Martin Duggan also says, yes, my all-time favourite. And
I think he has a Facebook fan club for you, Martin.
I know. Somebody had to tell me that, but yeah, and yes, but I'm in touch with Martin. He's a nice guy.
Yeah, and we thank Martin for putting us in contact with you as well. It was really thoughtful. Paddy Barrett again asked, what kind of shift was there on set when Val departed the show, with B being such a big part of the series, with Betty returning to the prison and new cast introduced?
Well, you know, you're just accepting of what comes. As I say, we didn't really have any say. And, you know, we got a lot of new people coming in. That's always good. Get the adrenaline going and come up to their way. And it's good for the actors that are already there, because you're getting a different perspective of how someone is reacting to you and how you get to react to them.
Yeah.
Yes, and just to clean up the comment, Matt did say what kind of shift with a shift, as in and not the other word.
Shift, yes, shift.
Stuart Carey says, did there become any bonds between yourself and other actresses who began as background characters before becoming main characters? I'm thinking Belinda Davey as Hazel and Yenta Sobat as Mouse for extra example. Were you guys treated differently as well?
Were we?
Yes.
By some cast members, but not all. I'm still friends with Lois Colander.
Well, why not?
Yes.
She's such a lovely lady.
Yeah, right.
And I think I asked her to do this with you, and she said, I'd love to because of Ken.
Yes, we've got Ken to thank for that.
No. I didn't mention you, Matt.
Oh, well, I'm no one. I just hold the paper. That's all I do here.
She's such a lovely lady.
Yes.
And we gave each other gifts when we said goodbye on that final day. Yes, she's a nice lady. And we will be having...
Yeah.
Yes, she is coming up.
And she lives near me too, and when we're not in lockdown, we catch up.
Oh, nice.
And so you said you're still in touch with Rebecca, with
Janet Andrew.
Janet,
yes, and Jackie and Lois, and that's it, I think. As much as you can be in touch with anyone in these times.
Yes, it is.
It's tough. Brian Tapano Clark said, if you could choose any character from Prisoner, who would you have wanted to play? I mean, apart from Phyllis, obviously, if there was another character you could play.
Would you have made a good B?
I think you have to be tall. I don't know. That was Val's role. I have played Nurse Ratched in an amateur production, but I could do it.
One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Yeah.
Yep.
Maybe vinegar tips. I would have liked that.
Right.
Probably wouldn't have, I don't know, wouldn't have done it as well as Fiona. But if nobody had seen Fiona, they would have thought, oh, that's okay.
You're it, yeah.
Yes, Fiona was excellent in that. And the thing that was interesting about Fiona was when she was in her civvies and dropped the hair and so forth and so on, she could walk through a shopping centre and quite possibly no one would have picked her as playing.
Yep.
Yeah. And plus she was a much nicer natured person.
Yeah.
Andrew Birch says, hi, my question would be, how do you feel that 40 years on, people are still watching and new fans watching Phyllis for the first time? Also, what was your funniest memories on your time on the show?
I can't believe people still watch it. I think it's extraordinary. I suppose that, how did the new fans find it? Did they just go on YouTube or somebody told them about it?
I can tell you why, because this is really interesting. And I spoke to Ken about it when we did this first episode 1, was all the younger people now that are watching Wentworth, the new Wentworth, they're all finding out, going, oh, this was based on a show from 1979. So they're all going back and thinking, wow, this is what Wentworth was based on. So it's got a whole new generation of fans now.
That's right.
Yeah, it's really interesting.
Those fans come from all over the world, you know, South Africa, South Korea.
Yeah, we had, yeah.
America, Canada, Britain, you know, Scotland. It's just quite incredible.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And when you think about a series that was last went to air in 1986, it's just mind-boggling, but it's wonderful, really. It's great.
Yeah, nostalgia.
Is
back.
Definitely.
Andrew Birch says, oh no, that was Andrew Birch. Matt, you've got the last one.
Last fan question is from Jacqueline Layton. She said, we never got to know the real Phyllis like we did, say, with Hazel Kent or Faye Quinn, only that she had a child. If you could choose a storyline that would give Phyllis a softer, more personal or vulnerable side, what storyline would you have chosen? I know we've put you on the spot with that.
You know what?
I know we've put you on the spot with that, but would there be a storyline you could choose that would show a softer side?
Well, maybe she could have fallen in love.
Yeah.
And I could have really
Wow.
handsome actor come and visit me and fall madly in love with me and take me all away from it. That'd be nice, wouldn't it?
Brilliant.
Yes. That's better than my thought was that you were a Sunday school teacher before you hit the prison. But no, that's much nicer.
Yes. That'd be good.
Yeah, fantastic. And I just want to thank you on behalf of all the fans, thank you for bringing us Phyllis, and thank you for coming on Talking Prisoner of episode 14, which will be up on YouTube on the Talking Prisoner channel in a few weeks, and also on all podcast platforms, including Apple and Spotify. We've all been approved for them, so people can now listen to us on the move. And
well, thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure. It's been nice reminiscing.